Anyways, okay, this is Mike. Welcome to the Wandering Minds podcast. Today, my very special guest is actually my baby sister, Kara Lee.
Hello.
Tell everybody about you. So I want to start with, I know your life story because you're my sister. One reason why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because you, to me, are an inspiration. You're an inspiration to me. I admire you. You're an inspiration to women, young women, older women, all age women, anybody identifying as women. I want to know your story. They want to know your story. Let's start with wherever you want to start. But first off, introduce yourself, tell people what you do, where your position in that industry is.
First off, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for saying so kind words. And I know it's hard, right? I'm your baby sister, so This is going to be fun. So Mike and I are actually 13 months apart.
Yep.
Currently, where I am, I'm Mike's sister. My name's Kara McClanahan. I'm the VP of Sales for Aesthetics Biomedical, which is aesthetic medical device manufacturer. I've been in the aesthetics world for over 25 years, and I'll get to share some of that journey. But I started, as an esthetician, actually. I don't know if you remember when I went to beauty school right out of high school, because I swear to God, all I ever wanted to do was be a hairdresser when I grew up.
Yeah.
But here I am. And so Aesthetics Biomedical, like I said, is an aesthetic manufacturer of medical devices that are used in plastic surgery, dermatology, med spas around the world, as well as a skincare line that goes with that. It's called SoMe Skincare, which I also oversee in what I do. So that's where I am now. Of course, there's a long story of how I got there.
Yeah, well, let's hear it.
I shared that I went to beauty school right out of high school, and through a series of jobs, I haven't always been in the aesthetics industry, but I was always passionate about the aesthetics industry or everything beauty related.
You're like Izzy. Izzy is like you.
Izzy, I love that.
I think from birth you came out loving makeup, hair, nails, everything.
All the girly stuff.
Yeah.
I remember being a little girl and sitting in my room and designing my hair salon.
Yeah.
Where are the sinks going to go and where are the hair stations going to go. As it turns out, when I went to beauty school, I was actually really awful at hair. And so took that right off the table.
That, yeah.
But I still fell in love with the industry. I worked as an esthetician, but I loved doing nails, right? I loved doing nails, and I owned a small nail salon for a while. But I really realized throughout many years of ups and downs in my career and dabbling in other industries, I was really good at business. And not because I have a great education or I just innately was good at business and could figure things out.
Yep.
So I did have other career stints in other industries, but I landed here in aesthetics. And, I think the biggest thing that got me where I was is hard work and hustle.
Yeah.
And I'm competing in an industry with, as a matter of fact, I was just promoted to VP of Sales for Aesthetics Biomedical here in the last couple months. And I remember wanting to wait to change my title on LinkedIn. And one of my colleagues was like, "Why?" And I'm like, "It's not that I'm not proud of where I'm at. There's going to be a lot of haters."
Yeah.
And it's true. Even in this day and age where I am in my career at my age, I was just holding off on doing that because there was going to be a lot of people that thought, well, she's too young to be a vice president of a company, or she hasn't earned her stripes for 25 years selling lasers in the industry.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, most men in my position, or most people in my position, are men.
Yeah.
Even in the aesthetics industry, most CEOs of beauty companies are men. Most of the top salespeople are men.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I know of another VP of sales in my position in another similar company that are actually women.
Yeah. So, and that brings up a really good point, and that's another reason why I'm very proud of you, but I'm proud of where you're at because, and we had this discussion, I've had this discussion with Rajnita, that a woman legitimately climbing the ladder of success, legitimately, I mean, because they're not earning their way other ways. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but it happens. legitimately climbing your way to the top in a man's world. And and you even said it, the aesthetics world, even though it's directed toward women, it's still designed or grouped by men, right?
Very much so.
So what is that like? And the haters are always going to be there. No matter how successful you are, there's always going to be jealousy, there's always going to be envy, there's always going to be animosity. Does that drive you?
It does.
Okay.
It does. As a matter of fact, that perception of me, quite honestly, is what drove me my whole life.
Yeah.
I was the youngest of 4 children.
Mm-hmm.
The baby. Some may have said the spoiled little baby. And I've heard that a couple times. But that being the youngest and then like having 2 children by the time I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
I dropped out of high school. There was a lot of things that most people would say were stacked against me.
Yep.
I think in my early years, I didn't expect much from myself. Even though I worked hard, I had 2 kids to take care of. I, had that fledgling trying to build my career in the beauty industry as a provider. But that perception or expectation that I'm not going to get very far myself even, but from others is really what's driven me.
Yeah.
I'll never forget my first corporate job. Back in 2008, when I first moved to Arizona, I was the office manager or operations manager for a large medical company. And my CEO saw in me where I am today. He saw that then.
Yeah.
And he used to drive me. And he even told me at one point in time, Kara, I'm hard on you because you're not hard enough on yourself.
Yeah.
You're so much better and you have to push yourself harder. And I've done that ever since. But there was a light that went off in my head when I was sitting at a boardroom table with all of these executive men. And actually somebody looked across the table and said, who is she? And why is she here?
Yeah.
And the CEO of my then company stood up and said, well, that's Kara, and she's our vice president of operations. And in that role at that time, most of the people that reported to me were medical doctors in practices across the United States. And people expected that I wasn't going to be where I was.
Yeah.
And people looked down when I did get where I was because they were trying to figure out, why was I at the table?
Yeah.
And that's what drove me. I pushed myself harder from that moment, hearing those words, so that nobody ever had to second guess whether I earned where I'm at.
Yeah.
Myself included.
Yeah.
Because there were times that I would sit around and say, how did I get here? Like I was surprised by my success
Which
or
is
my
sad.
growth.
Which
It
is sad. I think a lot
sad.
of people, that's the world we live in, that people, and I hear this all the time, even on this podcast, where people are so surprised about where they're at in life. And it's like, for me, I'm not fucking surprised where I'm at in life. This is what I've worked for.
Right.
This is where I'm at. But that's sad. That's a sad mentality. And I think that in order to get past that is just this true belief in yourself and just knowing.
100%. And it was that pivotal moment in my career for me, because from that moment on, I earned everything I got.
Yeah.
And I knew what my worth was. And I felt confident sitting at that table.
Yeah.
And every career, every move I've made in my career in the last 15 years has been getting to the spot that I knew that I earned, that I deserved. And I had this picture of what I wanted to be and what I wanted to provide my children. And I tell them all the time, even though they're 25 and 26 years old, that I want you to see how hard I work to get the things in life that we have, to have the life that we live. Not because I want you to have, we as parents always want our kids to have better than us.
We don't want them to struggle.
But I wanted my kids to see the life that you want to have if you work your fucking ass off.
You got to earn that shit.
And you earn it.
Yeah.
But you have to earn it.
Yeah.
And so I'm super proud that I feel like it's really hard work and hustle.
Yeah.
It's the 70-hour weeks and making sure that you're up before everyone else and you walk out the office after everyone else and you do everything you do with integrity. Because there were times in my life that my integrity took a back seat and I second guessed myself. And, I tried to take shortcuts in life and you don't get anywhere with that.
Yeah. You
And so
backstep
that's
overall.
right. That's right. And so I think, again, just hard work, hustle, and integrity, and having that vision of where you want to be and how you want people to perceive you,
Yeah.
as what you've earned.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that people assume by a successful person or a success story is they have always been successful.
Right.
They had financial support. They had this, and we never had that. We never,
Right.
we had to work. Our mom had to work. We had to work.
Right.
There was no handouts. We were not rich family. We were not this, we were not that. But I think the one biggest thing that people really, really don't understand is that work ethics.
Mm-hmm.
The work ethic is like the biggest key to success, I think.
100%. And, I have a ton of employees as well right now. So I have not just myself and how I got there,
Yep.
but in every single one of my employees that are my high performers and people that I'm so proud of because I've got to mentor them where they are. That's the one thing I can't teach. And so now when I interview people, I say that I can teach you anything.
Yep.
You don't know about aesthetic laser devices? I got you. You don't know about how this device works in a med spa versus a plastic surgeon's office, or, every single layer of the skin and where we're treating. I can teach you that.
Yeah.
But I can't teach work ethic.
Yeah.
I can't teach integrity.
Honesty and
integrity,
integrity,
and you
yeah.
can't teach someone to have that fire in them to want to be successful.
Yeah.
If they don't have it, there's nothing you can do.
And I think you made a really key point when it comes to Sean and Andre. Everybody
Yep.
knows Sheezy and Andre are my nephews, your sons. Is that not giving handouts? I mean, I'm the same way with my daughters. If you want something, you earn that shit.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the key point to somebody who's more driven for success than somebody who gets the handouts,
Right.
because they have to earn it, and they understand the work ethics, the integrity that goes with earning what you want.
And when it comes to my kids, Andre and Sean, or Sheezy as everyone knows him as, they have it, right? They have that work ethic. They have that integrity. It came a little bit later in life for them.
Yeah.
And, part of that was, again, I was a single mom. I had Andre when I was 18.
Yeah.
I had Sean the day after I turned 20 years old. So Sean's my birthday baby. And there was a part of me that as I was, again, growing and becoming who I am, they like many other young people felt entitled to my hard work.
Yeah.
When they were in high school, they got a new car when they turned 16. They got a certain lifestyle that my hard work afforded them, but
that your life didn't give you.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But I think that there was a point there where I think they really did understand I work hard, not just so you can have nice things, but I wanted them to see the life you can have when you work hard.
Yeah.
And at some point in time, it clicked to them that they also have to work hard.
Yeah.
And so I think that they, again, know that hard work and that grit to get where they want to be. And they do it on their own,
Yeah.
on their own merit. So, but again, it's because they saw you as their uncle, as their role model. And I think Sean shared, you were a father figure to him,
Yeah.
and he looked up to you and seeing that. So again, we're all impacted by what happens around us, but that fire in your belly and the things that you want to do, you are the only things that drive you. You have to drive yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that that's, again, a huge thing for me. I had that turning point in my life that made me want to have a seat at the table and to drive me because of others' perception of me.
Yeah.
But then it just became habit. It just became habit to drive and do. And really that's that grit that gets you there.
Yeah. So when it comes to now, explain the aesthetics part of your industry.
Yeah.
I want to know what that means.
So, the aesthetics industry is just cosmetic medicine. Okay. So, I call it the pretty side of medicine.
Yeah.
So I spent several years working in neurology and primary care, and that's sick people medicine. Great, important pieces of medicine. But the aesthetics industry is cosmetic surgery, plastic surgery, cosmetic dermatology. So think Botox and fillers and skincare. And so because I've always been obsessed with those things myself and in that industry, the unique thing is it's everyone thinks it's fun, but it's medicine, right? It is a medical field. And even though it's elective, that's what drew me in, is that, in these practices and places, people want to come see you, right? Nobody goes to the neurologist, the primary care doctor because they want to. They go because they're sick.
Because they have to.
And it's a highly competitive industry because, again, people want to go there. Yeah. So you go to the plastic surgeon, you go to the med spa, you go to the dermatologist because you want to go. But that drives competition because whereas sick medicine, you go where your insurance says or whatever ailment that you have directs you to. But in the aesthetics industry, it's very competitive. It is a $24 billion a year industry. Some reports estimate $54 billion by 2025.
Wow.
In dollars spent in the United States on aesthetic procedures. So again, cosmetic surgery, whether it's breast augmentations, tummy tucks, mommy makeovers, facelifts, to Botox, neurotoxins, fillers, dermal fillers, and of course there's 50 to 100 aesthetic lasers that treat every single skin condition from skin spots to acne scarring. And so our laser is RF microneedling. We're the only U.S. manufacturer of that device. And of course, Somi Skincare is actually skincare that's infused with your own PRP. So you have to get a blood draw. Your blood is spun, and then the growth factor from your own blood is infused in skincare, which you use topically. So highly scientific industry as well. But again, it has always been, it's a woman focused industry. Women make up about 87% of
I was going to ask you the percentage.
87%, although that is growing. But 87% of the average clientele, except for med spas. We see more men in med spas than you do plastic surgeons and dermatology practices. But it is very heavily led by men, with plastic surgeons being 6 out of 10.
Really?
6 out of 10 board certified plastic surgeons are male. And it's a little bit lower. It's about 60-40 that's plastic surgeons. It's about 50-50 maybe for cosmetic dermatologists.
Okay.
And med spas are almost all female providers because it's a lower level service. But again, very male driven, especially on the device and even the skincare side.
Why is that?
Yeah, why is it with any other industry? It is very unique. I think that I do believe that, once you hit that executive level, they expect a certain appearance. They expect a certain, someone that can go toe to toe with scientists and doctors leading these fields. And for some reason, in most people's minds, executives are men, which is again that kind of image that we want to shatter. The the CEO of my company is a female. COO of my companies are female. As a matter of fact, my CEO, when I accepted the offer to come back on board with my company as a vice president, said, you know what? I'm sick and tired of looking at the executive team on our website and seeing all these white men. And so to bring on an executive force of fierce women to lead the company was kind of one of her missions.
So do you think, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here, do you think that this is a safe industry for the future of younger women in regards to self-image?
100%. So here's the thing. I think that there's always, when it comes to things, especially plastic surgery, and we talk about ailments like body dysmorphia. Hard word to say.
It is.
And I think that social media has definitely played into that. But that's always been around, right? Social media has been it's brought it out to the forefront. I think that aesthetic medicine is perfectly safe. It's acceptable. I think that, we all want to feel like we look our best. We all want to treat it, which is another reason why lines like Somi Skincare and things like are rising to the top that are very minimally invasive and natural and not again, I think that that's where my passion is, again, is skincare and beauty that just enhances who we are, doesn't change. I'm not a huge fan of, plastic surgery, although plastic surgery was a big part of my early career. I worked primarily in plastic surgery.
Yeah.
I've had plastic surgery myself. I have no problem saying that.
Yeah.
But for me, and the surgical procedures I had were about me feeling better about myself.
Yeah.
And about me just, feeling whole as a woman and feeling confident. I think that's very different than people that have surgical procedures or do excessive toxins or fillers or those type of things to change who they are and what they look like. So I think that if providers and doctors are more conscientious about how they deliver cosmetic medicine, and we really get real about accepting ourselves, I think it's perfectly safe.
Yeah.
It's not an industry that's going anywhere, but I think that, again, we have to be willing to accept it. You can say, I accept myself how I am, but I don't mind having good, healthy skin.
Yeah.
I don't mind getting a little Botox so I have a few less wrinkles. There's a big difference between that and changing who you are for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of what my point is. It seems to me like we're kind of in an age, and again, going back to what you said, it's always been. I mean,
right.
This world is very superficial.
Right.
Very superficial. So I had a conversation on a podcast about this idea of natural beauty. Mm-hmm. Because I don't see very many women these days that are natural, just like no makeup, no fake eyelashes, fake lenses, fake lips, fake nose, fake butt, fake boobs.
Right.
And again, if that makes them feel good, that's fine. But my point is this conditioned idea of beauty. Mm-hmm. And that's what I mean by that is, are we heading in the wrong direction with that, or?
No, I actually think we're heading back.
Okay.
So there was a huge trend in plastic surgery, right? The big monster asses. I'm super happy to see that trend going away.
Me too.
And I think that a lot of our medical providers are incorporating the idea of holistic wellness and health into their protocols. As a matter of fact, I know quite a few plastic surgeons that are, steering women towards being healthy before you have surgery.
Yeah.
So I had a full mommy makeover, which included a tummy tuck, liposuction, breast augmentation. And my provider said, okay, girl, you got to lose 15 pounds first.
Yeah.
And you got to be healthy before you have surgery. And it was about making sure I had the right expectation. Mm-hmm. And that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then we had this long era of doctors will just do whatever you want. So I think that, again, we've moved past that, and natural beauty really is making a comeback as far as how we administer cosmetic medicine, the types of procedures. There's always going to be someone out there that's going to, fill your lips full of 3 syringes of dermal filler just because that's what you want.
Yeah.
I'm in the industry, and, I don't do any of those things to the excess, but I see that more a lot with other people in the industry. And if we as executives in the industry and our doctors in the industry and our providers in the industry are portraying, more natural outcomes and healthy, safe procedures, then our patients are going to adopt. And I definitely see that direction. There's a lot less enhancements using things like implants or excessive products. So BBL is not a top rated surgery anymore. More women are opting to have their breast implants taken out than they actually are putting them in. And so I just think that people are realizing that you have to be healthy. It's okay to want to look beautiful or feel a certain way about yourself, but the trends, but you know what? It's going to come back around again. Something new is going to come down 5-10 years from now.
Yeah.
But there's a focus on safety in the industry, which is going to impact those type of things.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot to be said, and you know this. There's a lot to be said about eating right, having a healthy lifestyle. You're working out, you're training regular, because then you really start to feel good about yourself.
Absolutely.
And these things probably go a little bit lessened, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, they go hand in hand. Yeah. Because if you eat right and you exercise, it actually reflects in your skin.
Yeah.
And how you look and, other things, So I think that, again, the more we educate ourselves and the more we educate from an industry perspective, that it's not just about changing one thing. You have to, if you don't feel good or whatnot, you have to change a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so I think that, that's a trend that I'm loving right now.
Yeah. Now, would you say that, and I'm just wondering from a perspective of, like, I know a lot of men who have, like, in my day and age right now, younger men whose testosterone levels are way too low. Mm-hmm. Do you find women with estrogen levels or even testosterone levels way too high? And that affects them from an emotional standpoint, or do you even know? Do you test for those things?
So in my particular specialty of the world, we don't.
Okay.
But I mean, being in my position and having lived in the executive fields in aesthetics and in cosmetic medicine, obviously I'm aware of. And also, I think about those kind of things. A lot of the practices I deal with that carry my products do things like, especially BHRT, which is bioidentical hormone replacement. So that plays into aesthetic medicine a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of testing that goes into that before you do that. I think that there's also an element of the things that we put in ourselves that affect the chemicals in our bodies.
Yeah.
And that's from a cosmetic perspective, as well as just, out in just people's lives.
Yeah.
And so I think that plays into the perception and what people want from their outward appearance.
Yeah. Well, and that was kind of my point, because I think hormones plays a huge role in how you perceive yourself.
Absolutely.
Even from an emotional standpoint.
Absolutely.
Huh. That's really interesting. Now go back to, what was the percentage of men that get
13%?
Okay.
So the 87% of patients or clients in most aesthetic practices, when we look at physician-led practices, so cosmetic dermatology and plastic surgery, only 13% of men, so 87% female patients.
Yeah. What are they getting?
Men or women?
Men.
Most commonly Botox and fillers.
Okay.
In plastic surgery practices, the number one surgical procedure for men is liposuction. So typically like abdomen, flanks, those, the spare tire, the love handles.
The love handles. Yeah, I got to get that done, man. My just will go away.
The number two procedure from a surgical perspective is rhinoplasty for men.
What is
rhinoplasty is nose job.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
But non-surgically, Botox and fillers.
Huh.
And laser hair removals up there as well.
Really? Mm-hmm. Like off the back or just anywhere they want it?
All over, anywhere they want it.
I got my hair cut the other day, and my guy Carson at Big Daddy Barber Company, pulled my shirt down a little bit to shave my neck, and he's like, "Damn, bro."
You might need to consider some of that laser hair removal.
No, I'm like, that's my fur carpet right there. It keeps me warm.
That's right.
My fur coat.
Yeah.
So where do you go from here? Are you just in the moment? I mean, are you just in the moment right now?
I have to be. So,
because I know Jean's retired.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I have to be. So actually, I had taken a step back, and after years of working in breast implant companies, skincare companies, aesthetic practices, running aesthetic practices, I actually started up my own practice management consulting firm.
Nice.
So I consulted and basically taught owners of aesthetic practices, plastic surgery, and dermatology how to run their businesses better.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to take a step back, and actually I took 2 months off trying to figure out like what it was that I was going to do next.
Yeah.
My husband's retired, my kids are gone.
Yeah.
And then this opportunity landed in my lap to come back to the company that I work for now, which is the company I've been working for the last several years, as my current position as vice president of sales. And so I am really trying to help grow the company, scale the company, and sell the company. And then I get to decide what I do next.
Okay.
But honestly, I feel like, again, going back to accomplishments and where I've gotten, like I've never looked this far ahead.
Yeah.
And I always knew I wanted to be right here one day.
Yeah.
Right where I'm at
on this podcast.
Yeah, on this podcast right here today. But no, I know my career could and will go further or will go exactly where it's supposed to.
Yeah.
But I am just enjoying the moment. This is the biggest challenge career-wise that I've ever had. And it's such a great opportunity. I'm, have so many options ahead of me, and I'm just going to really enjoy my time and work hard because I scratched my way up and I worked hard to get here. But I don't know what's next.
Yeah.
I'm hoping grandbabies and maybe I get to retire again with my husband.
Right.
I mean, I'm thinking about it. I'm 45 years old. So again,
Yeah, you're getting old.
I know, so old. Yeah. Just 13 months
Look at all the
behind you.
grays. Look at all the grays, dude. You're 13 months younger than me, and look at that. Look at all these grays. Oh my God.
I had
you
an
stressed
assist.
me out when you were young.
Yeah. I'm sure I did. But no, I'm just, enjoying where I got a level of success and being able to be happy with my achievements. Because again, like I said before, there was a lot of times where I didn't necessarily feel like I earned where I was, or, I wasn't quite where I thought I should be.
So now you feel like you're right where you should be.
I do. I feel content that career wise, it's kind of one of those moments where you go, I made it. I worked my ass off to get here. So next for me is I do business coaching for aesthetic practices. So I do a lot of coaching of young entrepreneurs or business owners that are, wanting to run their businesses better in the aesthetic medicine field. And I find myself really love doing coaching. I've got a client in Auckland, New Zealand.
Wow.
And, a young 30-something woman who bought a med spa and is trying to make it her lifelong passion come true. So I do business coaching with her. I have another couple who's in their, mid 30s that bought a med spa in Texas. And so I work with them. So I'm really loving that aspect of what I do outside of my career. And so I want to continue doing that. I'd like to I've started a nonprofit before, but with a different focus. This time I'd like to start another nonprofit organization focused on empowering and educating young women to be who they are destined to be, to not second guess themselves, to have the power. It's not always about what your education says you are, but sometimes just how you show up to a job interview is how, a difference of whether you get that break that gets you in that door to that next level, or whether you second guess yourself and just don't even go for it and end up in a totally different path.
Yeah.
So whether it's mentoring, coaching, those type of things, I want to get into. I want to start a nonprofit this year,
that would be
cool. Really helping women grow into who they're supposed to be.
Yeah. So, and I think that is so important. I think you made a really good point is, presentation. Just showing up in the right mindset. Also, the attire sometimes matters. I think that's important because you get a lot of people that don't have a lot of education and assume that you have to have some sort of high level of education to succeed. And I would completely disagree with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you coach somebody into realizing themselves?
Yeah. I obviously I completely disagree as well. I joke around that like I have, 4 master's degrees worth of experience behind me.
Yeah.
And everything I learned I couldn't have learned going to a university, a community college, or even online.
Yeah.
I had to learn it in the grind. And so I think that's really important. So I think that what I would say to people that, again, like I said, I second guessed myself before and I wouldn't go after opportunities because I didn't feel like I was worth it or that I would be given a shot. So I think that, working with someone to really understand their own confidence.
Yeah.
You are so much more powerful. You are so much, brighter than other people want you to be most of the time.
Yeah.
And I think that having confidence and feeling, good about yourself, there's been a lot of pivotal moments that made me realize that. And every one of those little moments added to that little spark that I had or gave me that little bit more confidence that I had to just, put my shoulders up and stand straight and walk into that room and go after that job that led me here.
Yeah.
And so I think that just being able to, coach people into understanding their power and what they innately have to get where they're going is important.
Yeah. And I think you are proof right there.
Right?
That's what it's all about. So let's switch gears just a little bit. We had family photos today.
Yes, we did. It was so much fun.
Yeah. Who was the guy that did our pictures?
His name was Craig Strobeck.
Craig Strobeck. He's a very nice guy.
Yeah.
You can probably find him. I don't know where could you
I
find
found him on Thumbtack.
I don't even know what Thumbtack is.
So Thumbtack is like an app, kind of like the old, what used to be like, say, Craigslist or something.
Oh, okay.
But now you can hire a gardener or a photographer.
Yeah.
And we had another photographer lined up who got sick last minute, fell ill.
Oh, is that what happened?
That's what happened.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So we had a totally different photographer lined up, and then I was scrambling last minute, so I found Craig on Thumbtack.
Yeah.
And so look him up, Craig Strobeck. He's awesome.
Yeah, he was good. We had I counted, we had 26 people, I think, in a family photo today. That was pretty cool. Yeah. Luckily, the weather held out for us.
Yeah, there was a couple moments where like it started to
drizzled. And you led that too. So that was, it's funny. I was telling whoever I was talking to, it's like, man, this guy's really lucky because you had everything just lined up. You were able, okay, this family next. So it's just kind of a natural thing.
Yeah, apparently Mom says I've been bossing people around. I was bossing you around for the time we were
absolutely.
5 and 6 years old.
No doubt.
But that was just payback for having to do all your homework for you.
Yeah, well, yeah. So actually, I want to know some funny stories and or horror stories that you have in whatever industries you've been involved in. Tell me one of the funniest things you've ever had to deal with or humiliating for somebody else, or... Do you have one? Do you have anything?
Gosh.
I mean, it's anonymous. You don't name names.
So, I mean, obviously I work in plastic surgery.
Yeah.
So I managed a very large plastic surgery practice for a really long time. And funny stories is obviously when you're coming to have plastic surgery done, the doctor's looking at your entire body, especially if you're considering a tummy tuck or something. So humiliating, not for me, but one of my doctors is he actually he was a really good looking guy. And he would get women that would just schedule consultations with him because they wanted to stand in front of him naked.
Oh my God.
True story.
Really?
I mean, he was a really good looking guy. He was a complete jerk, but he's a really good looking guy. And I'll never forget, it's somewhat embarrassing for me though, that one point in time, this one, consult came in and woman, and she also was like, wanted to stand in front of him naked. And, but she didn't have all of her facilities together and she wasn't a super clean woman.
Oh.
And he had to like get through a consult and she, showed up with like no underwear, even though she was in a bikini, and it was just really gross. Oh. So those kind of things happen. Funny in horror stories though. Gosh, I can't think of any.
Don't have any.
Off the top of my head, no, not from my, I can't think of anything. I'm going to come back to that.
Yeah.
You ask me another question. I'll come back to it. I'll think of a funny story.
I just think it's interesting. I can't wait to talk to Gene because I know he's going to have some stuff.
Oh yeah, my husband has lots of stories.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good one too.
Yeah.
So tell us about Gene.
Gene. So
because they're not gonna hear your version of Gene. They're gonna hear Gene's story.
So first off, my husband he's an amazing man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's your brother-in-law.
Yeah,
but,
love him.
I made a lot of bad choices in men. And part of that was not feeling like I was worthy.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's actually a really good point.
I actually used to intentionally, what I would say now would be date down, because I was very insecure that I was a single mother or this, that, and the other thing. And so I never put myself out there, and I made a lot of bad choices because I didn't have the confidence. And so I kind of picked, I wouldn't say losers. I never dated a loser.
Yeah.
But I dated down.
Yeah.
And, but I dated a lot. But at one point in time, from like 2004 until I met my husband in 2014, I was pretty much single for 10 years. I had my kids and I dated, but I wasn't in a serious relationship.
Yeah.
And then I got to a point in time in my life where I really wanted to be in that serious relationship. And I just I kissed a lot of frogs. Mm-hmm. And I had pretty much decided that, I don't care whether I've ever, that the regret that I had about not having a man in my life, and especially a quality man, is because my kids didn't get to see that. Yeah. They didn't get to see their mother being in a loving relationship. They didn't get to see, grow up with that father figure because, their father wasn't, in the picture, in the house.
Yeah.
And so I got to a point in my life where I just kind of gave up. And lo and behold, one day I got a phone call from my son who says, "Mom, the cops called and our dog's running around the neighborhood and I'm in the middle of the test. You have to go home." And then I get the phone call immediately, seconds later, from some asshole cop screaming and yelling that I was a very neglectful pit bull owner, and that if I didn't get to my house in 15 minutes, he was going to take my dogs to the pound.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, it's 20 minutes from my office to my house." And he goes, "Yeah, you got 15. So I race home, screech around the corner, pull into my house in my parking lot or my driveway. And as soon as I open my car door, Gene stands up from his car door. And it was like, ah. I see this beautiful man in uniform. And then I hit a rock and fell on the ground. Yeah. So literally, I did. Walking down my driveway, hit because I came from my office where I was wearing heels.
Yeah.
Stepped on a rock and fell flat on my face. Like blood on my elbows, knee, everything. Yeah. And that's how I met my husband.
Yeah.
And you know, when they say that, you know, a good man's not going to land on your doorstep.
Yeah. Good
man just totally landed on my doorstep in that moment. And I'll let him tell the rest of that meeting story if you guys get there.
Yeah.
But Gene is hands down just again just one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my entire life.
Yeah.
He is selfless. He is the most non-judgmental, easy to get along with. Like I have to tear him away from perfect strangers at Costco because he just talks and he gets along with everyone, and you know that.
I do.
But you know, he's had a successful career as a professional athlete. Mm-hmm. And then he had a very successful career as a law enforcement officer, but he wasn't just the guy pulling you over and writing tickets. He was on SWAT and gang task force and undercover narcotics. And of course, when your viewers meet him, they'll see that. But he's just a genuine person.
Yeah.
And just the most wonderful. I'm so happy that it came into our lives when he did, because then my kids got to see Mom in this amazing relationship and with this amazing person and with this guy that today, fast forward 10 years later, they're happy to call their father.
Yeah.
Even though they're adults and they don't need a father, right? But he is their stepfather.
Well, they still do.
Yeah, they do. So he's just a wonderful guy, and I love how much he, you know, the family has embraced him, but he genuinely loves my family.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. You can't, you got a diamond in the rough.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I love Gene.
Yes.
I can't wait to have him on. We're going to have hopefully we have some good stories.
You will. Yeah. It'll be the longest podcast you ever had.
Yeah. Right. Well, he's scheduled for an hour, so we'll see how that goes. But anyways, give me something inspirational for the viewers. That I know that you talked a lot about that, but we'll wrap it up, and I want to have some good closing thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for anybody, young woman or man, is regardless of your situation in life, you have to believe in yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't need someone else to believe in you. You don't need a handout. You don't need necessarily an education. If you want an education, go for it. But you have to believe in yourself. Yep. You have to see where you want to be to get there. Yeah. And you know, that moment for me came from a random stranger at a gas station when I was traveling in Washington, D.C. several years ago. I was getting gas for my rental car, running late to get to the airport when I was on a business trip, and I happened to be, you know, in my business attire, and this girl was asking for money. And she said, "You know what I want to be when I grow up?" And I said, "What?" And she said, "You. You look at you. Yeah. You're beautiful." She said, "You have a nice car." It was a rental. She says, "But you look like someone who has a nice, handsome husband and a couple good-looking kids, a couple beautiful kids, and I want to be you when I grow up." And I wasn't me yet.
Yeah.
I wasn't me yet.
Yeah.
And that moment made me believe that I could be someone that people want to look up to. Yeah. And I've driven myself ever since. So it's you. You only need you. Yeah. You know, and reach out if you need someone else. If you need someone to listen to you, or if you feel like I just can't break through, and I know there's a next step, I just don't know how to get there. There's someone that will help you get there. But I think that the thing of it is don't take shortcuts. I learned my lessons in life about taking shortcuts. Hard work, grit, tenacity. You don't have to know everything. You can learn. Believe in yourself and make that climb and make it worth it.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you.
All right, I love you.